talking about increasing our savings rate, spending less so we can meet our big financial goals. Yeah. With nearly 80% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, most of us could use a little bit of help with saving a bit more. Our guest today, Jen Smith, is going to show us how. Jen and her husband paid off $78,000 of debt in just under 2 years. Not only is she a debt-crushing wizard, she's also the author of the Amazon best-selling book, The No Spend Challenge Guide. Her advice has been featured in Business Insider, Money.com, and U.S. News. And when Jen is not talking about money, she's running half marathons and making super cool t-shirts. I got to get one of these t-shirts. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Andy, your enthusiasm makes me sound so cool.
Well, you are cool. You do cool stuff.
I love it. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, Jen, let's inspire some folks. So where did this $78,000 of debt come from?
So it came from mostly student loans. I wish I could say it was something fun like credit card debt or that I did something.
I like how that's more fun.
Right? But it was mostly student loans, and $4,000 of it was from a car loan.
Okay, so $4,000 from a car loan, awesome. And then, so tell us how did you crush this debt? You did it in 2 years. That's nuts. How did you do that?
I know the original timeline was 5 years, and originally, when my fiance at the time said he wanted to pay off his student loans, I was like, I'm not into that. I don't want to spend the rest of my 20s like living under a rock and having no fun. And I had even more student loan debt than he did. So it kind of made me feel bad for thinking that way. But over time, over a short period of time, like by the time we got married, he had convinced me that like this was the way that we were going to succeed and reach our goals and be able to do the things we wanted to in life. So literally when I got home from our honeymoon, I got on the internet to find side jobs. And I was underemployed at the time. So my full-time job would only give me 25 hours. Travis had just left a job because it was like 3 to 4 hours south. And so when we got married, we wanted to live in the same house. So he was unemployed when we started paying off debt. So I thought side hustles, that was our way to do it. And I got so many so quickly that within 2 months, I had contracted shingles from the stress. Yes, and overworking.
That sounds not comfortable.
It is the most uncomfortable. I mean, I haven't given birth yet, so I can't compare it to that. But that is what everybody says is the comparison. So I'll see in May how it compares.
Oh, what is it? What's this, an announcement right here?
Yeah. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
you. May. I love it. Very cool.
That was so close. But so that was the time when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to out earn my mindless spending, and that I was going to have to budget, and not just budget, but actually spend less. So that is when I started exploring becoming frugal, and not just like buying cheap purchases all the time, because that doesn't make you frugal. So that's how we did it. We did it with side hustles, moderately, and then just being really, really frugal, because I'm the spender in my relationship.
So you were kind of, so that's really interesting. So your husband now was the saver and kind of brought you on, and you were the spender, and in your eyes it's like, well, I'll just make some more money and then I can keep spending, right?
Yeah. And I didn't think I was a spender because I was not spending on like big expenses. Like they were, $5 and $10 expenses. I just wasn't thinking about it, and they were cheap. So I thought they were okay. And it turns out it was not.
Well, let's talk about that. So what are some of the things that you did with your husband or before you guys got married to spend less or budget? Tell us how you did that.
So we started budgeting together even when we were engaged. So we didn't combine our finances till we got married, but we were using Every Dollar, and that's a really great budgeting app for like manually tracking transactions. And that was really key for us when we were starting out, because we really needed to be aware of what we were spending on. And Mint is great. Automatic transaction syncing is awesome, but we really needed to do it manually so that we could like come to terms with all the things we were buying. And so that's where we started. And then when I was exploring on how to like really cut expenses, that's when I started doing no spend challenges. So they were kind of like total spending detoxes. So I could just take a step back and just ask myself, why am I buying this? Why is this in my hand? Or why am I in this drive-through? Which is such a simple question, but because we have this autonomy to do whatever we want, we rarely get the opportunity to ask ourselves that.
Wow. So walk us through a no spend challenge. So am I stopping spending for a month? Is it a day? How do you work this? How does it work?
So I started with a month because I'm a very all or nothing person.
Wow.
And I really wanted to see like numbers. I wanted to see a really good amount that I could put extra towards our debt. But as I started researching online and like doing all of this, people are doing them in every kind of capacity. And they're calling them all kinds of different things too, like 0-day challenge, spending fast, shopping ban. So it comes in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. But I recommend, if you're like me, to like start with a month, but totally okay to start with a day or a weekend or a week. And then I just did it with personal spending in restaurants. I would not spend on any of those. And sometimes I would do restaurants like if I was with my husband, because I never forced him to do a challenge with me. It was always just like a personal thing. And but I know some people will like stop buying groceries too. Wow. So they'll like exchange fresh produce for frozen, make a lot of freezer meals to prep, all that stuff, clear out their pantry. So it's really flexible and customizable to whatever situation you're in.
So tell us what personal spending means. You said you stopped on restaurants and personal spending. So what falls into personal spending for you?
My personal spending is mostly lattes. If we're being honest. I've never been much of a things shopper, but I've always been an experiences shopper.
I was going to say David Bach would probably really like this conversation, right? I was looking for my book. Everybody who's watching on video.
I probably have that book in arm's reach too. But yeah, I love experiences, like spending time with people. So that was always my personal spending. And we live 2 hours from Disney. So occasionally, like once a year, I would buy like a ticket to Disney. So it was kind of like stuff like that, that I had to cut out of my life.
And you did this all during this 2-year process?
Yeah. So I didn't do a ton of them, but I would do a month, like maybe once a quarter. And then just to kind of reset. And then every time I did it, it would be a little different because I would have different struggles. I would be like winning at different things and need different amounts of money or whatever. It was usually if I had a really bad month the month before and spent a lot, then I would like do a detox the next month. Or if we were so close to paying off one like little loan, do a spending challenge just to get that loan like paid off.
Wow. So 78,000 in 2 years. Could you share how much you guys were making around that time? Even a range is fine.
Yeah. So we were making around 88,000 if you include all of our side hustles. So definitely more than the average, but like not near 6 figures. So
that's incredible. That is incredible. That's determination. That's some no spending for sure. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, when I look back and I think about like all of the things that we did without spending money, like we got so creative. with things. And that's what frugality and like not spending really allows you to do, is like get your creative juices flowing.
That's a really good point. So if when you were not spending on certain things throughout the month, you probably, I mean, it's just the mother of invention, right? Like you're like, okay, well maybe I'll do these other free things. So what sort of stuff did you start doing that were not expensive?
Oh, we would find free trials for things, like free trials for gyms or free trials online for like audiobooks or anything that had a free trial. We were there. Or like free events. We would look at all the free events in the area and go to all the ones, that we could. We would just try and fill our time with a lot of free things.
Yeah.
And then it also allowed us to get creative with like side hustles, because the best way to not spend money is to spend time making it. So
that's
yeah.
that's the quote of the episode right there. I like that.
Yeah, I'm convinced of that one fact.
Well, isn't it amazing? Like when you put yourself in that situation, you're like, all right, I'm not going to spend on any personal things or go out to restaurants or really focus on what it is for this month. How your mind starts to be like, okay, well, maybe I could go for a walk or take a nap or go to the library or like all these things that sound really awesome when you're super busy, and they're free. Like. I'm sure there's a list of ideas like you were saying that you guys free trials, like free concerts, like there are out there if you just look. We're in a consumer society, so it's easy just to spend and click yes online to buy the next thing, but putting a little more effort to find out what's actually out there. It's free and actually pretty enjoyable, right?
I know. When I was writing my book, The No Spend Challenge Guide, I was like, how am I gonna fill a book with just telling people like don't spend money? But it's like all the things that go on in your brain during the time you're not spending, like those are the things people need help with. And so I just brain dumped all of the things that came up over the years of not spending, like to help people process that.
Well, I love it. I mean, and we're talking about this right now. I mean, it's not all about deprivation and lack and things like that. This is for a season of your life. You guys went nuts for 2 years on the 78,000. After you guys finished that, did you alter how you spent, how you made money? What changed after that?
We definitely spent a little bit more than we did while we were paying off the debt. We had a tree fall on our house like 10 days after we paid off our debt because thank you, Hurricane Irma. But we got more comfortable, but we found that after we got comfortable, we were craving that goal, like reaching those goals, like that feeling that came while paying off debt. So we just kind of transferred that to like savings goals for our retirement accounts and other things. So we're saving more than we would have ever been able to if we had not had that 2-year experience, like hands down. And then also the things that we put into like play while we were paying off debt, like to make passive income, those weren't giving us any income when we were paying off debt, but they are now. So,
well, tell us some of those things. What are some of those things that are providing you passive income now?
So, the biggest one is my book publishing. So I've written 2 books. One is the No Spend Challenge Guide, and one is Meal Planning on a Budget. And those were like the content for those books is a direct result of those 2 years. It's all the things that I did not know and that I'm sure so many other people did not know, that I just wanted to be a guide. And I don't put myself on a pedestal and claim to be an expert. I just wanted to get it out there to help people like me, fully knowing that I am not an expert or a super saver. So those have been the best things. And then also designing t-shirts on Merch by Amazon is super cool. And doing Airbnb, like once we were able to pay off the debt, we were able to buy furniture for our home because we had spare bedrooms were just empty. And so once we were able to buy furniture, we started doing Airbnb. And that's been a really great source too.
That's great. That's great. So I mean, it's almost as if you went through this process and it was maybe difficult in the beginning, but you got used to it, and you're like, actually, this is we live in one of the most privileged countries in the world. Like, we're pretty good, you know. And
Yeah.
you kept up a high savings rate, and now you are figuring out a way to build wealth through these other passive income sources. So
Yeah,
it seems like
exactly.
yeah, it seems like you made a life out of it. That's good. Jen, where can people find your Amazon best-selling book and connect with you?
Yes, the No Spend Challenge Guide and Meal Planning on a Budget are available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback.
I love it. Well, Jen, thank you so much for taking time with us today and inspiring us to save more and really enjoy our lives. So, thank you very much, Jen.
Thanks for having me.